Rush Limbaugh said some more things on the radio recently.
No way. He's the most quiet person.
I know, he's very quiet.
He's like a little mouse.
He's like a turtle. He just sits in his shell. But he did say, and this is a classic Rush Limbaugh rant. So I'm gonna parse it down into segments, and we're gonna dissect each segment of the great wisdom that he emits from this man. The first thing he said is there are plenty of, quote, lard-ass women in politics. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. But
that's very true.
Okay, but
that's absolutely true.
Sure.
Lard does not have to be an overweight woman. Lard can be the drippings out of someone's mouth.
Well, do you really think that he meant slim women with this comment?
I think he meant, people with diarrhea of the mouth.
I don't think that's what he meant at all.
You know something? Rush Limbaugh, if a woman is insecure about who she is, she would take it to heart and probably cry or probably feel really bad about herself. But, that is an ignorant statement to make about someone, because truly, when we are operating in a way that is charitable to humanity, then we would not be ignorant concerning the things of humanity.
Yeah.
See, and I have to come from a spiritual point of view, because this is a very serious and sensitive subject.
Indeed.
I am a woman, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if any man thinks that he knows anything, he knows nothing, yet he ought to know. But if any man, Rush Limbaugh is not saying anything to edify a woman's ass.
Yeah.
He's saying a lard ass. What is the content of his character? We know what the content of his character is.
Indeed.
But the work of these women who are in politics, wherever the women are, high and low places, medium places, it doesn't matter. But to attack someone because of their outer appearance instead of their content of their character is ignorant. I honestly don't think that's what he meant, and I'll tell you why. He's not skinny, and we know he's not skinny. And he's had issues with his weight for a long time. And honestly, he would say something a lot nastier if that's what he meant. I'm a lot nastier, so what you're saying is what he said is nasty.
Yeah,
oh, right. But
I think so.
Absolutely. And as a fat woman myself, trust me, I'm not happy with it. But I know what he's capable of. We've all heard what he's capable of on the radio.
Yeah.
Spell stuff and become women.
Yeah.
And they all become women of meekness and not weakness.
Yes.
So he said it to inflame. I mean, that's the whole thing. He's a personality. He wants ratings.
Yeah.
What he says for ratings, because the higher rated his show is, the more listeners he has, the more money he gets.
Yeah.
From sponsors. The more money he gets from sponsors, the bigger his paycheck. Remember, it doesn't last for him. I don't think that he thinks that he's an entertainer. I think that he really thinks that he's someone of importance.
Oh, I think so too. I mean,
he talks about the fact that he's an entertainer. He actually said once on either one of his shows or I think it was one of his live things that he would love to see America shape itself up so that people like him didn't have to shape it up for them.
But you know what? I have a few comments to that. Number one, I agree with Glitter. Of course, I have not met him or seen him. I don't have the intimate connection that you do, Annika.
Yes, we're very into
Well, I have to say, you know what? I mean, I've heard him on his show say, "You come to me because I tell you what happens in the world." That is important, that he believes that he is forging that connection with the people who are listening to him, you know? And I think also, absolutely, like many entertainers he does have an off-screen persona, but I think that most people, most of his listeners, most of his millions of audience members every day, they don't understand that there is this theatricality to it, so they start to think that that is what it means to talk about current issues.
It kind of goes back to my earlier angle on reality TV.
Yes.
Some people that see these reality shows believe it.
Yeah, I would argue, unfortunately, I think it's a lot of people.
And that's exactly what it all comes down to.
And I would also have to really question his, the quote that you quoted from him, that when he was saying, I wish this country would be better so I wouldn't have to fix it. That is such a joke, because I think he really, if that is really his intention, I don't think it is. Because I think if he intended to, quote, fix this country or better the community, I don't think his output would be what it is.
No, exactly. And that's what that's where I was going with it, because his listeners, you have people who listen. Yes, you are to listen, but after you listen to it and process that information, you have to divide and say, what is good of this? What is bad of this?
Yes.
And how is this thing that he's saying edifying one to another?
Yeah.
That's not edifying. It's bringing attention to what he's saying. What he's doing, what he should be doing, I should say. Okay, what the real goal of all this should be is he should be saying all this stuff, inflaming people to go out and learn more and find the facts.
Yeah.
He's an abuser. He is an abuser. And that's just calling it like it is.
Yeah.
He's an abuser. He's a wounded soul, and he's taking it out on anybody he can. It don't matter if they black, white, Jew, Gentile,
woman, fat, skinny,
Asian, Indian, fat, skinny. He don't care, because he's wounded and he's an abuser. And again, like you said earlier, it's all about the Benjamin.
Absolutely. And he is found.
The more inflammatory he can be, the more that people will talk about him, good or bad.
Yeah.
Some people will listen into him just to find out if he's really saying all these things that people are hearing about. Like, if people hear on the news, like, when we were talking about the Trayvon case, Jacob, and he said it was okay to say the word nigga and not nigger.
He said it was okay for white people to say it, specifically.
Right. But my point is, people would potentially listen to his
I totally
show,
agree.
not because they even like him, just to see if he's really like that.
I cannot believe this guy actually said that. Yeah.
Just to hear if he's really that crazy, let me listen to
And Annika, I absolutely agree with you, because when I first saw the quote in writing, I was like, this can't be true. I listened to the clip. I told you about it, and I remember telling you about it. You couldn't believe what he had said,
Right.
So, that.
And it turns out that he was parroting Trayvon's friend had said, which was a little twist on it.
I think that was a thin cover for what he was doing, but, that's not the issue at hand.
Absolutely.
Okay, let me read another quote that he said this week on his radio show, and then I will ask you a question, and I want to get your feedback, okay? So he said, it doesn't look like Michelle Obama follows her own nutritionary dietary advice. And then he went on to say that she doesn't look like the image of the woman on the Sports Illustrated magazine. My question to you, Glitter, I would ask you this first. About Michelle Obama, do you agree that Sports Illustrated models are our benchmark of healthy bodies? And do you think it should be what we think of as the model for healthy bodies?
Now, I'm going to say this. When I first heard that comment that he made, I said, he is off his rocker.
Absolutely.
Because, for one, Michelle Obama is not trying to be a model on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama looks fabulous.
She does.
Too, whereas we were number one in the statistics as the fattest country in the world. But now we're number two. The difference when you address an issue, you're not attacking and beating up on a person. You're giving them resources and giving them ideas to help them get to a healthy state, whether it be physical fitness, whether it be mental, but a supreme state of mind. So that is my take on what he said. That's just ignorant. It's ignorant. Totally out of context. And I don't care if he's fat or skinny. What he said out of his mouth, that is not very American.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. But before we move on to Annika's response to this, I do want to ask you the question, which country did surpass us to become number one as the fattest? Do you know?
He said it. Mexico. You weren't listening.
I was listening. I just couldn't hear. Okay, Mexico. I believe that, actually. I believe that. So, Annika, I would ask you the same question. What is your response to this comment about Michelle Obama?
Oh, I agree in a lot of ways. Michelle Obama she's not a model.
Yeah.
They have boobs, and they're airbrushed, and they're this and they're that. I mean, no. No. Models are models, and human beings are human beings.
I think,
Models are human beings. She shouldn't be compared to a model. And Limbaugh needs to shut his mouth up because, it says, judge ye not, lest he be judged.
Yeah, we were talking about that today.
We can judge him on some things too. He's getting himself ratings. You're going to laugh at me, but Jakob and I have spoken at length about the Kardashians. If we stop watching them, they'll go away. If we stop talking about Rush, he'll go away. In a sense, we're giving him credence by talking about it.
Well,
he says things, and I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
He's trying to piss people off.
Well, I have a response to you.
He didn't win. He did not win. And this is our rebuttal against what he has manipulated into the media.
And my response, I have a couple different responses that I think are important on this particular quote. But I would first respond to you, Annika, and say, I think that your critique and saying, we give him more power would be totally valid if we were just doing the typical news thing and just Rush Limbaugh said blah, blah, blah. But this is productive because we're breaking it down, we're analyzing it, we're giving it context, and we're saying, well, why is he saying these things? We are giving people, or at least we're trying to give the people the tools to really look at these statements and these media products for what they are,
Sure.
Number two, on the subject of Michelle Obama, I don't know what planet he's living in either because
and he looks like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, Michelle Obama. To me, Michelle Obama looks like, for her age, in her country, in her time, looks like to me the picture of good health and nutrition. And at the same time, it's very important to bring to the fore that he uses the words nutritionary, dietary, and Sports Illustrated in the same sentence. He is trying to draw an equivalency that many people do, and it's a fallacy, but they do it. Model body types, unless that's your body type, for the 3% or so percent of the population, then these things are not equivalent. And I feel like Michelle Obama, for women, is a better model, not for Sports Illustrated, not for model, whatever, but for being a person of nutrition and being somebody who does have good dietary standards. I think in that sense that she is a great role model. Not only that, but let's look at this. Let's be frank here. She is slimmer. She is more muscular than most American women of her age. And Rush Limbaugh is certainly not as toned or, as physically healthy as her. So it's just bizarre coming from him.
And he actually looks much better than he used to. He had some big health scare.
Oh, God.
Not too long ago. I think he even had a heart attack, something. But
He was larger?
Because of that.
He was larger.
What?
He was larger, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Before he went into rehab and all that, yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, well...
Oh, my goodness.
I just think it's still, I think that, but it's still important, even though we know where it's coming from, which is money, it's still important to put counter-programming, counter ideas out there,
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And there are. I mean, there are lots of counter-programming.
Yeah.
There are individual programs, too. If it's for ratings, it should be relative. Relative standing. There is nothing relative about what he said about the First Lady, Michelle Obama. No, I agree with you. I don't like what he said. But I guarantee you, if I scoured the internet or scoured the airwaves, I would find something else.
Oh,
I mean, there's always somebody saying something stupid.
Well, you would find so many, because you're right, he does these things because, I don't, and you've probably had a longer consciousness about this. But I would ask you, Annika, it seems like he is in the news multiple times a week for these things that he says. Is this more than he used to? Or, is it that he's having to resort to these type of, Hail Marys more often? Or was this always the case?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And his contract is up very soon. And he's doing it especially right now because, it's like a sports person. He's going to be a free agent.
Yeah.
Because we talked
Cumulus.
about it.
We did talk about this. Cumulus, yeah.
His group might cancel him and blah, blah, blah. So right now, the more relevant he is, the more in the news, both, like we said, no publicity is bad publicity.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The more ratings he can get in any way, shape, or form, the more money he'll get. And life is about money.
For him, it is.
Well, for most of us, it is.
I think, it's really unfortunate that there is still this equivalency, not only in the minds of Rush Limbaugh and his audience, but a lot of young women as well. There is an equivalency drawn in the popular culture between model-type high-fashion body sizes and health. And that equivalency oftentimes is so false. A lot of times...
Skinny equals healthy. Skinny does not equal healthy.
No. If your body's not meant to be like that, and people are starving... I feel like the fashion industry every few years trots out something like this.
I was just watching America's Next Top Model, right? And the girl that won was talking about how I'm so happy I won because I represent real women and all women everywhere and not the size. She's like, I think she said she was a size 8 or a size 10. And that's supposed to be representative of women everywhere?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just if you look at the statistics, Americans are overweight. I think it's 2/3 of us are considered overweight.
Yeah.
Now, I know, for example, even though I've lost quite a bit of weight recently,
you have.
My BMI, my body, I worked very hard both before and after.
Yeah.
And my body mass index, I'm still obese.
And in that, I think we can all agree that Michelle Obama is a good role model for a healthy lifestyle. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move on to the next purposefully inflammatory quote. I don't know if you guys know about this situation when Oprah went to Switzerland to attend the wedding of Tina Turner, and on her off time she went shopping at a Michael Kors boutique, or no, Tom Ford boutique, and she went up and so you guys know the story.
Yeah.
Annika, do you?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I heard about it. I couldn't believe it.
So, well, the mainstream narrative, and the narrative being proffered by Oprah herself, is that she feels it was an incident of racism. Well, leave it to old Rush Limbaugh to give us what the mainstream media is not telling us. And he raised the question that the saleswoman would not allow her to see the bag that she had requested because she's fat. Annika, do you agree with this?
Please. No, I think it was because she was black. And the French are historically racist
Well,
You know, there's an old joke. The only thing wrong with it, you can't afford it. It has nothing to do with being fat. She was a much older woman from another generation. And either that or, I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate, she could have known exactly what she was saying, and she said it to get on the news to maybe tell her story.
Well, think about it. Now, her story of what she...
doesn't know who Oprah is. She could have said it to get publicity for herself, but truthfully, I don't believe that she said that because she was an older woman from a much older generation, and she was speaking what was true to her in her heart. So it had nothing to do with Oprah's weight. And whatever her message was that she was trying to send out through publicity, if she was trying to get on radio, television, or wherever, but she did it because we are talking about it.
Indeed.
We are having a dialogue about it.
And you know what? Her name, you know, she may have gotten publicity for this story, but her name never became famous, per se. We don't know who she is.
Yeah. She could have blasted her out, got the media involved all over in Switzerland, but she did not do that. It was the one time that she messed with the right person. I say the right person because...
Well, let me move the discussion forward a little bit and just give my 2 cents on this Oprah thing. You know, I don't think that even if this saleswoman did not know who Oprah was, Oprah doesn't look poor, you know? So there had to have been some other, you know, reason, you know, going on in the sales lady's brain, you know, and you know, it seems like a lot of people are saying that it was racially motivated. So, but again, so why, you know, we've parsed this out that Rush Limbaugh wants ratings and attention. But why would he choose this situation to even inveigh upon? Like he has anything to add to this conversation about Oprah?
We know that Rush Limbaugh likes to take a situation and turn it around and make it into what he wants it to be.
Yeah.
Because that is what he does. And like Annika said also that she believes he does it for the ratings.
I agree.
But I say that it's not even relevant what he is saying. But he did address it in the way that he saw it.
Also, I have to ask you, as somebody in the fashion industry, you know, there is not this feeling that large women can't have certain bags, right? There's not, oh, you know, the fat girls can't use this bag. There's no sort of...
And what is he doing? What is he... He's talking about swimsuit models. You know, Michelle Obama not looking like a swimsuit model.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane. You don't know nothing about that.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me go to the last quote. And this is the one that personally I found the most infuriating. I mean, I don't really get angry, but I found this, you know, but...
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So this is his, I think, one of his penultimate quotes. It really just lets you know what he is encapsulated. Feminism was established to allow unattractive women access to the mainstream society. Whoever wants to jump in first on this one.
Feminism was not established for that. Feminism was established in the early 1900s. Started off with Sojourner Truth.
Yeah.
Because women needed to have access to fundamental, basic rights.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah.
Transportation.
Yes.
For him to say that, he's trying to take us back.
Absolutely. Because, and I would piggyback off what you said, to go forward to the second and the third waves, you know, by the 60s, it had become a big part of the feminist movement that they were fighting on the streets and in legislatures to unyoke, to liberate women from being defined by their looks or what other people evaluated their looks to be. and I'll bring in Annika in a second, but I really believe that, unfortunately, feminism is in many quarters of America has received a very tarnished reputation. And I think it's on purpose. Because when you diffuse an idea as powerful as feminism is, which, may I remind the listeners, a feminist is anybody who believes in the advancement of women. But somehow, the whole water has been muddled by various people who have entered the conversation and have painted feminism as something that, unfortunately, the younger generation sometimes does not want to associate itself with. And I think that's pretty dangerous. But he's really minimizing and actually negating kind of what feminism worked for, which was to get rid of these very same notions that he is peddling, comparing Michelle Obama to a Sports Illustrated model who's been photoshopped.
What he has to realize, whether he like it or not, the feminist movement is alive and well, and it has helped and liberated so many women of all nationalities, walks of life, because the privileges that women have now, women did not have years ago.
Yeah.
I would say to that Rush Limbaugh needs to look at the man in the mirror.
But before I bring
he won't like what he sees. Why would he look there? He needs to start with the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
And that pudgy, ugly dude, he doesn't want to look at that.
Yeah, right.
I honestly think that if you notice, he hasn't been saying as many things until recently. It's like right up until you start hearing the news stories about how he may be getting dropped.
It's like 4 times a week now.
Now all of a sudden it's article after article after article.
This was all this week. All of this was one week.
And as soon as he signs another deal,
well, then he needs to take his medication.
As soon as he gets his money, he'll quiet down again.
Yeah. Once this deal is secured.
I don't agree with it, but I understand it, and I would do the same thing if it made my bank. If I was going to sign a new multi-million-dollar contract.
Really?
Hell yeah, I would be as loud as I could to get as much money as I could.
So I agree with what you guys are saying. I believe fundamentally that we are all, one people. But at the end of the day, what makes us distinct, what divides us, and not in a bad way, but it's just what makes us individual are the values that we hold. So some people do hold, material wealth or money as value, and that's not bad. But it just leads people to, I think, some nasty, nasty things. And I would never become this type of person for money, even if it was millions of dollars. I feel like I couldn't accept that, knowing I was doing this intellectual harm to a culture.
Jacob, I know, for example, you would never, if somebody gave you $1 million to badmouth someone intentionally, you wouldn't do it unless you'd already talked to that person and that person was in on it.
Yeah, right.
Even then, you probably wouldn't do it because that's your nature. You were raised differently and you believe differently.
Yeah.
So you really believe
that you know of my family who would let somebody else and throw them under the bus in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
So Annika, you really believe that if Rush Limbaugh wasn't getting paid the money, he would not say what he said?
I don't think so. I think it would be a lot more turned down. I think he may think some of it, but I don't think he would say it.
No, because let me tell you something about money.
Okay.
If a person don't have money, okay, listen to this. If a person don't have money and they get money, money only magnifies who you really are.
Yeah.
There are some entertainers that have their entertainer persona that is completely different from their regular persona.
But you know what? You can say this is a different persona, this is a different persona, but you're still the same person and you're responsible for the things you do and say.
you are responsible and held accountable for the things you do and say. And money does magnify who a person really is, like you were saying about your family members. If they were paid, they would let the cat out the bag, and they would say a lot of things. And that's because they're saying it now. But if someone gave them the money to say it, they'll say even more. It'll magnify the issue even more. So money does magnify who that person really is and their value system.
Yeah.
And what they believe in. It can change them as far as taking them to the next level of who they really are. And there are consequences and cause and effect to what they say. It may not be tomorrow, but it will be years down the road.
That, to me, presupposes that before feminism, attractive women were allowed access to mainstream society. It didn't matter whether a woman was attractive or not. She still couldn't vote. She still could not hold property. She still was considered, property in some senses. During marriage, all her wealth and all her property was transferred to her husband. We have had almost probably more than 100 years of feminism, and it's just really an insult to all those women who have done such hard work at changing society to go back to such a base, and it is base metric, and it is a very surface, it's really a surface observation to say the dichotomy here is between attractive and unattractive women. Did either of you guys want to say anything more about Rush Limbaugh or these statements?
There needs to be kinder words said. You cannot judge unless you be judged. What he said,
well, that's not true. Everybody judges in some way, shape, or form. Everybody judges, don't they?
no, everybody does not judge. I think that everybody has certain prejudices. Like, you may like Target, I may like Walmart, you may like McDonald's, I may like Wendy's.
Yeah.
But judging someone is when you go very deeply into the heart. And no man knows the heart of another man.
Yeah.
Now, I say that to say unless he's deceiving the people, only God knows his heart. But what he's saying out of his mouth is not lining up with who he should be as a person. So in my closing, I would just say that there needs to be some sensitivity. Again, I would hope that some good can come from this because he's releasing toxicity into the universe.
Yeah.
And whenever toxicity is released into the universe, there is a reaction to it. And we are the result of what he is saying. And what we're saying is that, hey, stop. Wait a minute. You need to listen. You need to watch what you say out your mouth, because not only are you talking about these situations and these people, but it is affecting so many other people that is ignorant.
Yeah.
Ignorant with an exclamation mark.
Glitter. Earlier today, we were talking about this. I take people on their word. When you say something, it is allegedly, a representation of what is going on the inside. And since I have one more thing to say, since you kind of opened this spiritual kind of floodgates, I would say, you know what? He has a very large bounty in his life. He has been given such a gift of opportunity that every day his words, his ideas, the stories that he finds relevant are broadcast into millions of homes. He has an opportunity that so few people do. And I believe that this was his talent, and this was what he is spiritually meant to bring to the world. However, like you said, he has not stayed in his lane, and instead, I feel like he's using his talent to sow discord, And I just wonder, I wonder.
That is so true.
I wonder.
That is true. That's true.
Yeah.
He has the opportunity with media to do and say, to do the right thing, because he's reaching so many people. What is your motive for what you're saying? What is your motive? There is no. What is your motive?
Well, the motive, like we said, it's money.
Look, they have other people that are on the other side. Look at Chris Matthews. And
Annika, can I say I agree with you? And, recently Ed Schultz called Laura Ingram's, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something like right-wing slut or something. Something totally inappropriate and not even based in policy or anything at all. And that just...
I am Jewish, so...
She's a Jew. But, so, and I agree with what you said a little bit earlier that, this is toxicity of idea and word and intent and meaning, I think, as well. And unfortunately, he's not like a normal toxic person. This is a toxic person whose toxicity is broadcast to millions every day.
I would say that, too, that Rush Limbaugh, it is time for you to mature.
I think Rush provides a wonderful service.
What?
I think that I like the fact that he gets people talking. Because for every, maybe this is wishful thinking on my part, but by getting people talking, I hope it gets them researching and learning.
No, but you know what? Do you think that most people are doing what we're doing here? He may not be fulfilling his positive purpose, but to us, he's a gift. Because he is allowing us this moment to reconfirm the values and what it is that we know to be true,
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
And
and again, you've got people that who might be listening to this show.
Yeah.
Who are learning something.
I would hope that is the case. I'm sort of basic. This is my gift, and I'm trying to use it in the correct way. But do you guys want to say anything else about this topic of Rush Limbaugh or anything that we discussed today?
Well, I would just like to say, this is Glitter. I would like to say to whoever is listening out there that this is truly educational, and it is a platform for those who are listening, but more for it is real what we're talking about. None of this is prescripted or none of this is to offend anyone, but it is to bring attention to what the current issues are that has arisen in our time for this day.
Yes.
And I have enjoyed this dialogue on the show, and I would hope that we can continue this talk at a later date. And everything that was said tonight was truly great. Yeah, I just want to say to Jacob, thank you so much for having us on your show today, and that I look forward to more discussions, and I just want to thank you, and
the pleasure is all mine. I chose you guys for a reason, because you are. You were among the top of the list of the people who I wanted and who I thought whose voice needed to be heard. And I think that I speak for all of us when we say that in the purpose of, talking about these things, we do want to make our community better, in talking about these sometimes controversial issues. But, Annika, you want to say any last words?
No, just that I appreciate your forum. I appreciate you, Jacob. I think you do wonderful things.
As I appreciate you both.
I am honored that you keep coming back to me and my incredibly annoying opinions.
And you, at this point, and you are the only regular contributor. So, you're here for a reason. But, so, Annika, if people would like to continue a correspondence with you, how should they do so?
It's WOLF as in Frank, YNE, Wolfine, at gmail.com.
And Glitter, is there any way in which people who would like to discuss these issues further or pose a question or comment, how can they communicate with you?
I will be having a blog in the future, and right now I'm not giving out that information, but on the next show I will announce my blog.
Okay, sounds good. And do you know the name of what the blog will be yet?
I will release that information for the next show.
Sounds good. Awesome. Okay, Annika Wolf, the Word regular contributor calling in from Florida. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And also Glitter, thank you very much for your first time. You made quite a splash. I definitely appreciate it. That's Glitter. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, thank you so much. I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I did not know that we were running out of time like this. If we had more time,
this 2 hours. I mean, I've been on the phone for 2 hours, and this flew.
Oh, wow. Really kind of, we have a different viewpoint, and we show each other the different viewpoints, and then we're like, oh, yeah, I agree. Oh, yeah, I agree. It's like, okay.
Being here.
Jacob, when does school start for you again?
Late August.
Cool. You know, they already went back to school here.
What?
Yep.
Seriously?
Seriously.
God, Florida's no fun. But let me just say this, Glitter, thank you for coming on your first time. That's Glitter, a student from Morgan State University, calling from Rosedale, Maryland.
All right.
Yes.
Well, great to be on to you, Jacob.